Okay, I wanted to welcome everybody to the March 3rd Capital Planning meeting, and today's agenda is Environmental Partners presentation on the DPW proposed facility. So take a minute, we'll pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, so let's do some introductions here. I invited Kevin Clary, the DPW commissioner. Bruce is here, and Environmental Partners. They're going to be doing a presentation. I asked them to come just basically to go over the conceptual design, see how far away we are from biddable documents, and basically kind of go over, I don't know if you want to go over individual line items, but I guess individual topics on the budget with cost pros and stuff that Environmental Partners actually put together themselves. We'll save the questions for at the end and at that point. So I will share or maybe you can help with this, Fred. We can have Ziad Carey. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Ziad Carey. Yeah, thank you.
Ziad Carey.
Yep.
We'll share the screen with Ziad, and he can actually pull up his. Do you have the presentation? Are you prepared to?
I could actually do that. Let me see if I could share my screen.
You should be able to.
And let me know if you see it.
Yep.
All right. So good evening again. So this presentation, we gave it to the joint board sometimes in December. And quickly through the agenda here, what we could give you a bit of a project background, how we got here, what we did. We'll show you some, I'm not sure if you've seen the layout, schematic design for the building, some layouts, cross sections, building envelope, a bit of a detailed 3D and the opinion of probable cost, and what the next steps moving forward to make this biddable. So we had a few meetings with the DPW, Dennis and Bruce, and we arrived at conceptual layouts that was acceptable to them. In this layout here, we combined, water, sewer, and we have a large meeting room. We have some overhead mezzanine storage on this side, drive-through for maintenance, and the bay wash on this side of the building.
Can you blow that up a little bit? And just,
yeah, let me see if I could.
In the bottom right where it's at 62%, if you just change that a little bit higher. There you go.
Is this still in the window?
Still is. If you go back to the drawing.
All right, let me see if I could do that here. Better?
A little bit, yeah. And we can bounce around it too. You could drag it around if need be.
Yeah, we could do that. All right, so this is where the assembly room here is, and mechanical room on this side, the workshop, water and sewer, custodial. This is on this side of the building. And this would be the vehicle equipment storage. And this side would be the vehicle maintenance, okay? Maintenance office, the fluids, tools, foyer, toilet, and then right on top you have some storage. Only the mezzanine would be on this side. The building is typically one floor, and it's the way we have it. It's a pre-engineered metal building with a standing seam roof, and we'll just go over that pretty quick. And this is the wash bay. on this side.
On the vehicle maintenance bay, that includes a lift?
Correct.
Okay. So the lift is located somewhere in the middle that you could access it from either side? Is it electric, hydraulic, and were there any plans to have, like a quick lube area where you could just walk down instead of having to put the vehicle up on a lift to say change the oil? You could walk down and then put your, waste oil container there. You could reach over, slide it over, etc.
Yeah, I don't think this is a hydraulic lift, so we really haven't gone through the details on the lift, just a placeholder for locations, I guess. This is really only we did the architectural and the conceptual design, the floor layout and some sections and elevation, just enough to get it to the next step.
If-
So
if I could-
mechanical, HVAC, none of that really was happening under this schematic design.
I could jump in on the lifts real quick for Fred. We currently have a set of lifts that we just purchased with an article from last year's town meeting, and they're portable. So, they're battery operated and they're remotely controlled. So you can, when you're not using them, you can wheel them off to the side of the room out of the way so you can drive vehicles in and out of the bay as needed. If you need to lift a vehicle, you wheel them over to the vehicle that you're lifting and they'll lift up any equipment that we have right now.
Ah, that's awesome.
In the tentative plan for a lift that was permanently mounted to the floor was going to be a lift that when in fully lowered, you could drive on and drive off in either direction.
Okay, perfect.
So just to back up a little bit, back in 2016, the town had hired an independent consultant to do some subsurface exploration to look into the foundation and the concept of where this building is going to be found, the type of foundation that the building would have. Just based on the history of the site, the recommendation by the independent geotechnical engineer was such that the building would have to be founded on rammed aggregate piers, right? So basically this is stone columns. They did like 4, I think, geotechnical boring back in 2016. There was supplemental test bits to confirm the subgrade. And what we did, basically, we took that approach and we carried it into the cost estimate, and assuming that the building would be done on rammed aggregate piers and shallow foundation system, like conventional shallow foundation. Okay. The current site, there is some underground utilities. So by doing this 175 by 100 building, you would have to relocate sewer, water, and gas, and some overhead wires as part of the approach to put this building in. We did some conceptual layout for parking on the side of the building, and some of it would be right on the in front of the building there by Essex Ave. Again, this is the proposed building envelope with some utilities in the front. And I'll be happy to just email the actual architectural files. I'm not sure if you do have them or not, but I could email them. We did some elevations to show the building from 4 different elevations. This is from the south elevation. Again, the office space and the assembly room would be slightly lower than the garage space, just to break up the roof line on the buildings. We also did a code review just to identify the modes of egress, classify the building. There's a report done as far as that goes this is north elevation view.
Excuse me, the north elevation, is that from the street? Would that be the north side?
No,
That would be the north side, correct?
So so if I'm standing in the street looking at the building, I'm looking at the north side?
No, that's,
No, I'm sorry. This
That's
is
the south
this
side.
is from the
South
back of
side.
the building. south
Okay,
side,
so this is
Back of the
between what we're planning on, the cold storage and the maintenance facility right now. So this is what I would consider the backside.
correct.
Okay,
Some building sections, what the building would look like. We did a couple sections from both directions, showing the partition walls. And this is what the building and kind of a 3D model there. This is what it looks like. This would be the wash bay station on the left here on this end.
can you go back to slide 12? And I don't want to use too much. The CMU block, is that in the inside of the building?
Yes, correct. The
Okay.
partition walls, yeah.
Quick question, why would that be needed?
I mean, this shown as a CMU block could be any partition wall, could be like metal and basic wall, but that's how really we showed it here today.
Okay, all right.
All right, different view. Just a different angle. Here's another look from the backside.
Approximately how many square feet is the roof area in totality?
So the building is 100 by 175, 100 by 175, 17.5
And
total.
do we, and I'm a little bit lost with elevations in north, south, east, and west. I won't kid anyone. But how does that follow the sun pattern? And either Bruce or Dennis would probably know better than anyone as far as sunrise to sunset. And would it be a lot of direct sun? And Justin, I know you had sent me something a long time ago for green buildings.
Fred,
With-
I'm trying to find the email I sent you right now.
Because I'm just wondering if there would be federal money available if we were able to combine some solar or something on there.
I bet this could be a net zero building, just based on the
Yeah.
size and the energy used inside.
yes,
And
solar panels on the whole building would be appropriate because of the low pitch roof.
And the town is one customer, so we could over generate for this building and offset other electric use in the town. Nice thinking, Fred.
thank you. Let me see if I can find that email.
I just got it. I can send it to the committee.
Okay, cool. What Justin and I are talking about, just so everyone else understands, within the middle school building project, Justin had sent me a file that showed if you can build net zero, that there, perhaps there's some federal monies available to offset the projects, etc. And I just had the thought looking at it, if it followed the sun, that's a lot of real estate for solar panels. And I know mine are humming along right now.
Mine too, Fred.
enjoying mine. The only thing that I hate is, at least as a residential customer, they cap me at 10 kilowatts per hour. My system will pump more than that in a real good day. You said you're sending that to everyone, Justin?
Sitting right now is just adding Bruce, Dennis, and Kevin.
So anyways,
It's it's mostly state incentives, and a lot of it's on the design side of things. So we could get potentially subsidized designs to do a net zero or low emissions building. And there's probably MVP action grants available to put solar on municipal buildings as well. So we could tap into some potential state money here.
And this got to be federal money with the infrastructure that they've been coming out with.
I bet there is.
We just passed our plan on that subject matter, so we'll be eligible for those grants, as Justin knows.
Oh, wonderful.
These will be good questions to bring up to an OPM once we get somebody like that on board, if the project moves forward.
Okay, so basically what we did, we based on this conceptual design, we developed a cost estimate in-house, and we used similar projects. One of them was just recently done in the town of Venice. It was 5,900 square feet, smaller size building, but was combining office space and 3-car garage with very similar products, a standing seam and pre-engineered metal building. It wasn't really fancy. They had a couple offices in there, locker rooms. So we basically looked at that cost, considering it's mid-Cape, and of course there's a cost differential included there. We also looked at Yarmouth, which is more of a high-end DPW building, and it really had a lot of good features in there. So we kind of somewhere in between, and for sure, considering the supply chain and the actual cost of construction that's happening now. So we came in about $630 per square foot for this building.
How recently did you do this estimate?
So this estimate was completed in just before we presented it to the drawing board, sometimes in November. And so what I did after we did this estimate, I thought maybe I should have an independent view from a cost estimator, and I went to Cost Pro. That's what these guys do for a living. They do cost estimates and day in and day out. And I had him review it on his end and come up with his own cost. And he came in at $9,750,000.
And these were in August and September? Is that what?
It was more like October and November 2021, just before the end of the year.
Okay. The only reason I ask is because prices are changing quicker than quotes are coming in.
That is so true. And today I got an email from somebody saying that ductile iron pipe is about a year out. So we do a lot of public projects and horizontal construction. A year ago, for instance, a 20-inch PVC pipe, you paid $25 a foot to purchase. Today is $105 a foot. And cost of material, aluminum, windows, and steel, and all that stuff is going up. So what he did, the Cost Pro carried a price escalation to bid date, and assuming, of course, that bid date was September of 2023, assuming that this building goes to construction in September 2023, he carried an additional escalation cost to, as a contingency. The only difference that you see between my cost estimate of his and his is just the amount of the contingency, the percent of contingency. And with some minor adjustments, I think, but generally speaking, they were kind of within the same range here. So at the time when we presented this to the board, the thought is to move forward with this under mass bid laws. This project, let's just say it's $10 million. Well, anything over $1.5 million, you're subject to the OPM. Obviously, we all know that. And then so the first order of business to get the OPM on board, and then from there you get the designer selection between the town and the OPM. Will select a designer, and the design will progress. You get design and construction documents. You put it on the streets, advertise it, bid it, award it, and then you go to construction. And once construction is complete, you get the closeout, and hopefully you have a good building.
Okay, are there questions for the environmental partners team?
Done, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Hold on. So are there questions? Let's see, Fred, go ahead.
I would think that there's a step before owner's project manager, and that's the formation of DPW building committee, which has already been completed. But I think that that's an important step to have within any presentation, that is something they're very committed people from the town, on a building committee to work with this project as well. And I think that we should see that before, because they'll be selecting the owner's project manager. If I'm wrong, please.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Fred. No, that's a good point. And I think the first meeting was actually last night on that, with that committee.
Could that slide be revised?
Oh, absolutely. This is, the same exact dialogue happened when we presented it to the joint board, and the discussion, the outcome of that was like, yeah, they want to form a committee. Again, I only pulled this presentation from just early as this afternoon, and I could revise it for sure.
Yeah, and the committee's already been formed in their
We
function.
had, yep,
It
we had
has.
our first meeting last night. There's 5 members of this committee. 5 members who are here tonight who are members of that committee who were all there last night. So, yep, we're moving.
Any other questions? Was he?
And I could also say that whoever the designer is, the CAD file, the CAD files, the conceptual design does exist on record, and it's your property. Would be glad to send it your way.
The only Josh.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, the only thing I didn't see on that drawing initially was the utility room at all. Is there any area for actually where the utilities are coming in for, any type of networking and data, or
Yeah, so we have the mechanical room in here. Let me see if I could do this here. So this is the MEP room. I think you could find some space in here to be able to put it in. There's a storage room in here as well.
Josh, does that work? Having it back, like your stuff next to the mechanical room, or?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, obviously, because typically depending on what's in that building for panels, I mean, fire panel and burglar panel and stuff like that. in addition to networking and whatever else is gonna go in that room, we typically like to have our stuff climate controlled, but I don't know, based on what I'm seeing, that's a significantly large room. I don't know what's in there for mechanical. So it's kind of hard to, unfortunately, a lot of these projects are, copy and paste. So at the end of the day, in past experience, it's been, unfortunately, you get the, 5x5 closet for your stuff, which isn't nearly enough room that we need to make stuff work, right? So.
One thing I noticed too is there's no women's bathroom facility, even though there's a women's locker room. If that could be incorporated in there. I think
There's
that
right here. There's men's as a women's right here.
Okay. So is there bathroom facilities in there though?
Yeah, it's just a locker room and a bathroom.
Okay. So the turnaround in your experience to go from biddable documents from this conceptual design, what would an engineering MEP firm or architectural firm and civil and structural, what duration would that take for a project to this size?
So this is obviously not good enough to publicly bid it, right? Because it is a conceptual design after all. I think you could, you probably don't have to have you have to have the basics for structural. You don't have to have full structural design because the supplier, the building manufacturer could actually design and stamp it, and the structural engineer would be reviewing it. The architectural is probably the largest piece, and the MEP. You're probably looking at from conceptual design to take it to a biddable document, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 months.
Okay. And this design was based off the facility in Yarmouth, and you said some other place down the Cape?
No, the cost estimate was based on that. The design was based on meetings with Bruce and Dennis, and just discussing optional layouts. We came up with maybe a handful of options, different layouts based on the size of 100 by 175, and that was the one that we agreed upon with them.
I mean, it looks what's needed. I don't think we vote on it tonight, but I think, I'm all in on this project. I think this project is definitely needed. I think most people on this committee feel the same way. I don't know who's actually gone through the DPW building. I've personally only gone back to where they allow you to drop off grass clippings and stuff like that, and then into the office to pay my water bill period when it comes in. But I haven't really gone through the maintenance building or the future cold storage out back. I haven't really gone through that. The color of this, is it going to be green like the existing building, or I know that's probably premature to even ask, but have you guys created any type of color renditions of this?
No. We didn't specifically talk about color, but my experience with the other 2 projects that I mentioned and the one in Tisbury, the color doesn't cost any, different color doesn't cost you any extra, right? So what I see common is the beige type of facade, and then the green roof, which is the standing seam. You see this pretty much on every project, right? I don't know whether it's it's the best color out there, or maybe it's just a preference, but it could be any color you want.
Okay. Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions, Kevin, do you want to add anything? Your position on the whole thing? It'd be interesting to hear from the DPW commissioner on your how you want to push this project along too.
Yeah, Thank you, Don. I apologize. My dog is barking in the background. Perfect timing. Yeah, I mean, I've been involved since 2012 on this project when we first went with the other project and was sat on what was then the building committee or special projects committee. I forget what it was called, but actually I think a lot of you, Bob and Aaron, I think Josh, you were all on that board as well. Yeah, I think it's like anything. I think everybody in tune and understands, that kind of has followed the project knows we need it. I certainly know we need it. We just need to keep pushing it, and it's kind of what we talked about last night in the building committee meeting, that, we just got to keep pushing it. It's a need. It's not a wish. And, I think working with Ziad, we've come up with a very simple, basic facility that gives us what we need for really minimum, minimum facilities, bathrooms, locker rooms, change areas, storage, a place for guys to eat their lunch and, maintain the equipment.
Does it meet all of your needs?
Yeah, I mean, it meets all our needs. I think that the two biggest things are maintenance facility, proper maintenance facility, and proper facilities for the workers. I mean, those are the two biggest needs. The front building, the building we're going to tear down, yeah, it's really old and we put some money into it and we got to fix, leaky roofs, or the electrical system shorts out, or, all of you heard the story that the rafters up inside are charred from a fire back in the 70s. That building to just park stuff in is probably fine, but it's not fine as a facility, for proper facility for the men. The mechanics bay in the back is horrible. You know what I mean? There's not even drainage. Trucks come in full of snow and ice, and they got to wheel in their creeper through a puddle to get underneath the truck. So, I think those are the two biggest things. Storage is storage. We could always use more, like anything. We try to keep everything inside. I think they do a good job, of, if we keep it inside, the longer it's going to last. But I think this building definitely addressed that, those basic facilities that we need and should have.
So I'll share a little bit of last night's meeting that we had. I believe everyone on this committee is thumbs up on this project. It's the tough thing is going to be trying to get it passed through town meeting, whether it's a special town meeting or the annual town meeting. It's going to take a lot of us in maybe an OPM or environmental partners to really, I guess, present this case to the residents and taxpayers to get this approved. It's needed. I just drive by the building, I could see it's needed. That's, if any of us, none of us would want to work in that facility, and call that our office. It's antiquated, it's old, it's beat up, it's time. I'm all for it. I'm concerned about making sure that we push this the right direction to get it to pass in town meeting. So, I mean, I'm new at this. Any help we can get. I think we all got to push and get this thing passed because it's needed. So that's my opinion about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, last night at our the building committee meeting, we voted to proceed in the same path that we had, originally started. Unfortunately, we weren't able to, have, the town meeting and get that first approval in January. Right. So, that set us back a little bit, but, we all agreed that the path is still the same, that we get some monies, we get a design, we get an OPM, we talk it up, we publicize it, we do everything we possibly can and then go to town meeting with the best information we have,
Yep.
with very accurate, design drawings at that point, 100% designed, any little things, I think we've done a lot. I mean, we've already spent some money, we've like Ziad said, we've done soil borings, we've done test pits, so the unknown underneath us is known, and that's why we're just doing a slab on grade.
Yeah.
We don't need to dig down and put a basement for storage, or that just adds the complications. We do some basic foundation stabilization, the aggregate piers or something like that, foundation wall and a slab on grade, and just keep it simple and, cost effective at the same way. Obviously the simpler you keep it, the, more cost effective we're going to be.
Is this going to be approximately in the same exact footprint as the existing building? Or pretty close?
Larger.
Lot larger.
Larger, but yeah, I believe the setback and all that was pretty much the same, right? And it was the other.
Yeah, the one of the slides, you could bring it back. So basically, it gets a little bit closer to the current office, like Dennis and Bruce's office. It just gets a little bit closer to that point. And it's 100 by 175 existing. I think it's much smaller than that. So let me see.
Do you have an overlay of what the existing building and the new proposed building of the two footprints?
Yeah.
So the existing building is approximately 100 feet deep in from the street. But that only includes the addition, the 30 by 30 addition that was built in the early 70s. So from the street in, the new building would be similar width or almost the same width that matches that, addition on the old garage. So the distance between the back building and the new building would be similar. And as Ziad was about to tell you, the length running parallel with the street would bring it quite a bit closer to the administration building.
So would that change the entrances into the animal control and the public vehicle entrance going in and out of the lot?
Yes, it would shift it over towards the administration building, but it still allows for probably a wider opening, we would make this time. So it would accommodate a vehicle going in and coming out at the same time without too much of a squeeze.
Do you think it would be too much to ask Ziad and the environmental team to at least give us a topography type of overlay look of the existing compared to the proposed?
I was going to suggest that I have no problem with that. I could do it pretty quick, actually.
Okay. That would be interesting to see the new vehicle paths and stuff like that.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
I had this. Let me see if I could share this. I thought I had a layout that kind of overlays it, but this is. Can you see this particular sheet right here? Maybe not.
Yep.
Can you? Yeah. So this is the current office. I thought I had the one that shows the actual layout in relation to the existing, but we don't. So the new building would be closer to the DPW here, and I think we maintain in the same line on along Essex Street. But I could do that, no problem. I could do it and send it back to you.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
Sure.
Anybody else got any questions for environmental partners? No? Well, we appreciate your time. the conceptual is very, I think, functional. It's going to be a good building. It's going to be scary building at this time with the cost just rapidly increasing on a daily basis. You know, there's a question there, right? I think we all have it, but I think it's needed. I think the building's needed is unquestionable. The time that we're at right now, you know, every day we wait, we increase the cost. And I mean, the original proposed facility when I started with the capital committee back in 16, I think we were talking 8 million, and it was probably a little bit, you know, a little bit more, I guess, you know, a little bit more to the project, and we're scaling down the project, and we're spending more money. So every day is we'll be seeing more of that. So it's, you know, I appreciate your time, and I guess from there we can, you know, release you guys. But thank you for your time, Ziad, and I don't know if you want to stick around, Kevin or Bruce, but you don't need to. We're just going to continue with our other things on the agenda.
Okay, very welcome. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Thanks, Zia.
right.
Thanks, Kevin. Dennis.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank
Yep.
you. Have a good night.
Thanks. All right, so what else is on the agenda is, let me pull it up here. Hold on. Trying to,
Resolution for consideration of capital requests.
yeah, do you want to share that, Fred?
I'm just reading off the agenda.
I'm just trying to pull it up here. I got so many screens open here.
I don't know that I've ever seen that document, if it is a document.
So the schedule as we set up at our last meetings down at the bottom of the agenda, and actually there's a couple modifications that that I can go through. So the schools, I was able to confirm the other day with Superintendent Simonak that the schools are good to go for their presentation for capital requests next week, March 10th.
Will they have a detailed capital request?
Yep, I've requested that and been promised it by tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. If you can share that as soon as you get it, that would be great.
I will. And the March 17th, as in our previous schedule, police, fire, and facilities. March 24th, highways and parks, and information technology. Josh, we forgot to schedule you, so we're thinking that for March 24th, if that works for Josh.
Yep.
Is everybody available on those dates?
Can't guarantee it, but I will do my best.
Okay.
Mr.
Typically,
Chairman, I have a question. Oh.
Sure, go ahead.
Would we be able to return to in-person meetings now that the mask requirement's been lifted and we can stop meeting on Zoom?
I think we could probably get a little bit more accomplished if we did. I think it's more faster going. I think it would be beneficial to have it at the town hall if everyone feels the same way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
What time does everybody work? What time works for everybody?
I'll acquiesce.
Is 5:30 a good time?
I can usually make 5:30. I don't know about Justin Casanova Davis. He's probably got the longest commute.
I come from Lowell, so that's pretty far.
Because you get the longest. But
Justin, what's good for you?
I'll make 5:30 work. I'll probably be a few minutes late like I have been, but let's do 5:30.
Would 5:45 work better for you? You know, Nobody
Yeah,
needs
if
to
you- if
stress to
you-
get to these meetings.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, 5:45 probably be better for me, yeah.
Okay. Does that work for everyone else? Okay, that's what we'll do then. I see a lot of nodding heads. Good.
The
All
chair,
right.
make sure that between the schools and police, fire facilities, as I believe Mr. Curran, but just to make sure those folks know that we're meeting in person now, as opposed to a Zoom call. Or Lincoln, perhaps.
Yeah, I'll be coordinating with them.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay.
May I suggest we go back and review and approve the minutes?
Yes.
So hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a quick look at them. I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented for February 17th.
Second,
Has everybody reviewed them first?
Yes.
I don't want to push them on anybody. Everyone's reviewed them? Okay, so we had a motion and we had a second. So we have a roll call vote. We'll start with Justin Evans,
Yes.
Justin Casanova,
Yes.
Bob Curran,
Yes.
Aaron Taylor,
Yes.
Josh McNeil,
Yes.
Lincoln Heineman,
Yes.
Frederick Small,
yes.
Don Essen, yes. Okay, those meetings are approved and archived for later use. Okay. Is that all that's on the agenda?
That is it.
That's it.
I believe so. Okay, I put something on the agenda that didn't make it. I gave it to Melissa, but it didn't make it on this agenda. It can wait till next agenda, next meeting, but I did want to put something formal, something to vote on the policies of this committee for the voting. I know I briefed you with it, Lincoln, and you agreed, but I wanted it on the agenda, and I thought it was on there, but it wasn't. So
I think
we can wait.
it is. The
This
committee
is-
wants to take it up. Resolution of consideration of capital requests.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think the conversation, we've had a little bit of the conversation here with the full committee in the past. And I mean, I know I'm good with it if the committee would want to adopt a policy that says that we would not, in the normal course of business, vote on anything presented to us
Oh, yes.
in the same evening in which it's presented, unless that's otherwise unavoidable.
Unless that's otherwise what, Lincoln, I'm sorry.
I mean, otherwise unavoidable. That is to say, things come up, and if this is the last meeting that we're reasonably going to have before a town meeting, then fine, we're gonna vote on it. But otherwise, we would not, unless it was the last, unless circumstances made it so that there was no other choice.
If we need that as a policy, or we can just call it something of a way we do business. If we want a hard and written policy, I'll make that motion.
Yeah,
That was the intent. That was.
I'll
kind
make
of
that
the-
motion for discussion purposes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for discussion. So do we need to have a roll call further for
Well-
discussion, or just have discussion?
No, we just need to have discussion right now. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I'm fine either way.
I'm the one that actually brought this to the table, so I'll explain my position on this. I think it was probably 2 or 3 meetings ago. We voted to approve funding for the DPW move forward, and we did that prior to actually seeing the budget and all that. We all knew about the project. We knew where it was going, but we truly voted before we actually got to I guess, digest the budget or understood what we were voting on. We did that in good faith because we know what the project was, but I saw a precedence here that I didn't feel comfortable with, and the next day I felt like we did the town a disservice by doing that without having all the information before we did a vote. I don't think that's our role. I think we should be able to absorb it and digest the information before we vote on it. So we received documents post the vote. That's what kind of was precipitated this policy. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's the right way to do this committee. I think we had time, but we rushed it to get into a special town meeting. And now that we didn't have a quorum for that special town meeting, it gave us opportunity to think about lessons learned, I guess. And that's what precipitated me to request this. So that's where I'm coming from on this one.
Chair.
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, so if we voted that so that we could get it put on a warrant article, wouldn't that be the same as unless unavoidable? In other words, if we had this policy in place, I don't see where that would have changed what this board did if it needed to be done to be able to get onto the warrant.
Well, the thing is I don't think it needed to be done for that warrant. You know, we were truly pretty far out on the project anyways.
Well, can I just suggest, I mean, a couple things. It was on the warrant because the Board of Selectmen decided it was on the warrant, right? So it was on the warrant, but you know, I think to Don's point, I mean, we certainly could have come back and, you know, with that meeting was on January 13th. We could have come back in a week and had another meeting on January 20th or 27th prior to the town meeting. And, you know, point well taken, I think, from my perspective. And, you know, whether it's a formal policy that we adopt or it's just something that we all expect, I mean, point well taken. And, you know, I think we can make sure that we do that in the future. So, you know.
Yeah.
Justin Evans?
Yeah, I think I think yeah, it is a worthwhile goal to give the community time to digest things. I think the current policy is that capital projects have to be submitted by October, which is something that is ignored anyway. So
Right.
I don't know that this necessarily adds any more teeth to that policy we're already ignoring.
Josh?
So, Lincoln, do you happen to have the requests from other departments that are on the list of, for the meetings coming up on the 24th and the 13th or whatever they,
Not from everyone, no. And that's what I've been
No.
working on. So.
oh, okay.
No.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna get the information before the actual meetings or,
That's what
I
I'm trying
wouldn't
to
want to, I
do.
wouldn't want to vote on information or requests, if you will, if we're not seeing them until the actual day of the meeting.
And that's exactly what was my
And I
point.
don't think, as we discussed at our last meeting, I don't think there's any intention that, you know, we're not intending to vote on anything until we've reviewed everything. So, you know, I think we're in order on that one.
And I thought we had a discussion, and I'm sorry for running, that, you know, we would vote once after we've heard all the consideration.
Exactly. So.
You know, by having a policy, I think it's a moot point anyways. If we're waiting to have, you know, everything in and then you schedule a meeting just to vet everything one last time and go down the list. That sort of was my interpretation or impression of how we were going to proceed in the future.
Well, I think if we had a policy, it gives us some structure. Right now, we just proved that by voting last time on that project, we proved that we didn't have discipline, where we could have actually had another meeting the following week prior to the warrant, and we could have voted at that time. What I'm trying to implement here is structure and creating an atmosphere that this is the way it should be. I mean, we're in this role for the taxpayers. I mean, really, I felt like we did a disservice by voting on something without seeing the budget.
Then, but if that was said at that point, why don't we hold off? Why don't we wait? And let's have another, let's vet this out and get all the budget numbers and reconvene next week. I think people perhaps would have been fine with that. So we have to look at, the charge of the committee, how the committee wants to do business and operate, control it through the agenda, informational meeting on XYZ. And go from there. I don't know. I'm ambiguous to it. It doesn't really matter to me, whether we have a policy or not. But I just think that we're trying to, quote unquote, maybe, overthink things and put things into place that could later on, if needed, restrict us. When if we can all agree to do things a certain way, it doesn't come up as an issue anyways.
Any other discussions? Okay, shall we have a vote? Okay, the vote will be to implement a policy. A yay vote will be implementing the policy. A nay vote will be to leave things the way they are. So I'll start with Lincoln Heineman,
Yes.
Fred Smalls,
No.
Justin Evans,
Yes.
Bob Cohen,
No.
Justin Castanova,
Yes.
Aaron Taylor,
Yes.
Josh McNeil,
Yes.
Don Essen. Yes. Okay, we have 7 yay or 6 yays, 2 no's. I imagine that passed.
Before we move on, Don, though, I do want to touch base on what Josh said, though, a bit. I like getting, and maybe I don't know how we hold our departments to this. I like getting the information before the meeting so I have time to digest it. So when that person's there, I can ask them the questions, because even though we're going to vote the following week, if they're not there for the vote, and if I have questions, then I haven't been able to ask them those questions. So I think we've got to find a way to ensure that departments get their stuff to us timely for us to have a proper discussion at the meeting that they're going to attend. It saves all of us time that manner too. So
I think I know myself, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I think we all feel the exact same way. I think, like Justin Evans stated earlier, the budgets are supposed to be in October, and here we are. We haven't even reviewed them, and it's March. And we hopefully going forward, if we implement some policies and some structure, next year it'll be growing pains for everybody. But the more structure we have, the better things will go later on in life. And I think we get everybody's policies, everybody's capital needs. We look at them. If we get them that day, we shouldn't be voting on them. We should have till the next meeting. If that requires us to have a meeting the following week or the following day or the 2 or 3 days later, I think we should be doing that. That's what our role is. But we should never vote on something unless it's an emergency condition the day we receive it. I just don't think that's right. So I agree with everybody. I'm compassionate to what Fred said, and I can see that this could bind us or paint us into a corner in some foreseeable way that we're not aware of right now, and we'll have to adjust it at that point in time. But right now, I think we have to have some type of structure.
Well, and I just want to make it clear. I mean, the committee can, we're setting that expectation for ourselves, but the committee can change this if we have to at any time. So, you know, it's a great goal to set, but if we have to change it, we can change it, and we should, when circumstances require it.
Chair,
Fred?
if I could just bring up a couple things, and as far as, you know, the policy goes, the vote happened. I'm behind it now. We're all a committee.
Okay.
Once the vote happens, it doesn't matter what side you're on. It's approved. That's it. That's our policy. So there's no ill will or hard feelings or any of that. You know, as far as that goes. The one thing I want to bring up, are we bringing up expectations that are not reasonable for departments for an October date? Number one. Number two, did anyone have their plans in October? Number three, should we be requiring more of a longer term capital plan from departments? So that way there we have an idea of what's coming down the pike. And I believe some of that might be with the strategic plan that the town just adopted. You know, but if we know that the DPW is looking to replace 2 trucks in 3 years, it's something that we know a little bit, you know, further out. And they should know if they're going to be looking to replace 2 trucks.
I mean, these are all things that we're working towards, and that I am confident we will be much, much farther down the road this October than we were able to be this past year. So, I mean, that's for my part, that's my answer of it for it.
Did anyone have their plans in October?
No.
No. And the schools didn't either?
No.
Okay.
But that's a good point, Fred. Lincoln, I don't know if you know, would departments want to have a little more flexibility and have a little bit later deadline? I mean, or do you think let's just stick with October and try it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of agnostic on it. I think, I don't think there's any harm in having it be in December. I don't think that really substantively changes anything. So, you know, I'd certainly be all for changing it to that if the committee all felt comfortable with that. I think we'd still have plenty of time and resources to do the review that we need to do. So
if I was going to suggest a date, I would suggest something like January 5th or January 7th, only because it sounds so much longer than December type of date.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I intend to further enforce some deadlines on in the future. And I think the one thing about January is we're getting into operating budget season and plenty of other things going on. And so, you know, I think there is value in doing it a little earlier, in my opinion, but I don't think there's anything magical about October versus December, or, you know, that's my opinion.
Just context too. I defer to what Lincoln thinks here because he's putting it together, but context, and every community is different, but we do have the capital process a little bit earlier than the operating process. Just a little bit easier for everyone to get it done. So
Exactly.
if we were to switch it, I probably would be a December person, but I defer to you, Lincoln. You know your departments. I just think flexibility would be helpful for departments.
Yeah.
If we say you got a little more time, now we're giving you more time, submit it on time.
Yeah.
My dog's saying January.
Maybe I'm naive, but I'd rather have a deadline that people meet than a useless one.
Yeah.
That was a joke, by the way, with the dog saying January, because she wouldn't shut up.
Okay. Well, I think we've met our agenda. I think right now it's kind of a moot point because we're in March and we're still reviewing capital requests. So, you know, if you want to continue to talk about it, I would say just all the departments right now, I believe all the department heads are aware of the October date from historical budgets, or they might not be. I don't know, but I'm assuming they are. You shaking your head, Fred? Are they aware or not?
I don't think they're aware, but I also think this is probably a topic to take up maybe in June or July.
Okay.
Get through budget season.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll make sure collectively that everyone's aware of it going forward, I think. And that's
Okay.
that from my perspective.
Yeah, and whatever the date is, the date is. As long as you give them ample notice, that's all.
Do you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I entertain that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Josh seconds it. Okay. Shall we do a roll call on the adjournment of this meeting? Justin Evans,
Yes.
Bob Curran,
Yes.
Justin Casanova,
Yes.
Aaron Taylor,
Yes, sir.
Josh McNeil,
Yes.
Lincoln Heidemann,
Yes.
Fred Small,
Yes.
Don Essen, yes. Everyone have a wonderful day and great
Have a
weekend.
good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
you too.
Good night, guys. See you next week.
Yep.